Welcome to Chapter 1 EMS Systems. This is where your EMT journey truly will begin. Okay? Today we're laying the foundation of everything you will build upon throughout this entire course. We'll examine the structures and components of the EMS system, the various certification levels, the importance of professionalism, and really how your role fits within this life-saving network. Whether you're just starting out or planning on going to paramedic school, nursing school, become a doctor, understanding the system you're about to enter is critical. So this course is built on the National EMS Education Standards. These standards really guide what we teach and what you're expected to learn and demonstrate. So in this chapter, we'll focus on the preparatory section. So understanding how EMS systems function and applying knowledge about safety, wellness, legal and ethical responsibilities as an EMT. These competencies align with the NHTSA's guidelines, which ensure consistency in EMS education across the entire country. So let's look deeper into the first group of topic areas. Okay, so we're going to explore the structures of the EMS systems, their history, your personal professional responsibilities, and key systems like quality improvement and patient safety. So these aren't just the topics for the exam. They really shape how we think and how we act in the field. When we talk about patient safety, for example, is not just theory. It's protecting your patients from really preventable harm on every single call. Lastly, this chapter will introduce the roles of research in EMS. You'll learn how evidence-based practice, meaning data and studies and research, not just experience, shapes how we treat our patients. It also includes data collection and public health, which you might not think of as EMT tasks, but they're critical in everything from improving systems to helping prevent injuries in your community. So as an EMT, you are more than just a responder, okay? You're part of a comprehensive healthcare system, okay? This chapter introduces you to the roles and expectations that come with this specific title. Think of this as more of your roadmap for what's ahead. You'll learn the expectations from becoming certified and licensed, what each level of EMS provider can do, and how we can work together as a team in the pre-hospital setting. EMS itself is a system, okay? And every part of that system relies on doing your job well. So let's start with a simple, powerful truth. EMS is a team sport, okay? This slide introduces us to that team. EMS is not just you, the ambulance, and the hospital. It's a coordinated effort of trained professionals. Dispatchers, first responders, EMTs, paramedics, nurses, doctors, all working together towards one simple goal: saving lives. Okay, so you're not in this alone. You're stepping into a network that spans local fire departments, hospitals, communities, health programs, and even federal agencies. State laws govern how we operate, okay? But the care you provide begins the moment someone dials 911. So certification, licensure, and then practice, okay? Those are your next 3 checkpoints. First, you're going to complete this course. Then you're going to sit for the National Registry of EMTs exam. And once you pass, you're eligible for state licensure. Licensure is more than just a simple card in your wallet. It's your legal permission to save lives, okay? But here's the deal. That license comes with responsibility. You're not just earning credentials, you're earning the trust from your community. So let me tell you about my first call as a licensed EMT. Very basic, but it was very impactful. It was a simple diabetic emergency, and really, whenever for me, it's when the family members are involved. And in this case, the patient's daughter looked at me like I was the only person who can actually help. It was just that simple look. She didn't say anything. She was just looking at the whole situation unfold. And that's really when it hit me that this is real, and this profession actually does matter. So let's talk about the 4 licensure levels defined by the National EMS Scope of Practice model. Okay, so we start with the emergency medical responder. Okay, now back in the day, the firefighters were EMRs and firefighters, emergency medical responder and a firefighter. Nowadays, especially in California, the minimum is going to be an EMT to become a firefighter. But back in the day, firefighters, police officers, park rangers, these are the individuals who were trained in like CPR, basic first aid. But really, they start the care before we get there as the EMTs, okay? Then there's the EMT, the emergency medical technician, okay? That's gonna be you. You stabilize, transport, assess, and manage any life-threatening conditions. So you're really the critical link between the scene and the hospital, okay? Then we have the AEMT, that's the Advanced Emergency Medical Technician, okay? An AMT builds on this, so everything that an EMT can do, but they're able to do a little bit more with advanced life support interventions like starting IVs and providing administering some medications. Not very common anymore, at least in California. Those were more found in rural areas where the area itself didn't have a lot of resources, so they need their EMTs to be able to do a little bit more to get before they got definitive care. Then there's, of course, lastly, in terms of pre-hospital, the paramedic, okay? So that's what we call the pinnacle of pre-hospital care. They handle everything from intubation to advanced cardiac life support. This is going to be kind of the end goal for a lot of you who are trying to go that firefighter route. You need to get your EMT license first, get experience, and then you can go to paramedic school. So remember this ladder, okay? So again, EMR, EMT, AEMT, paramedic, okay? So you may start as an EMT, but your path doesn't necessarily end here, okay? I always want to push my students to continue their growth as medical providers. So this really should be looked as a foundational entry-level career, okay? In which you can kind of really gain and build a foundation of experience and knowledge, but then you're going to go on. You're going to continue on with your education, go with that paramedic route, go with that nurse, go that doctor route, just continue on building yourself, okay? Now, not saying that you can't make a career as an EMT, but again, I'm always at this stage early on, I'm always pushing you to go further. So here's where we are going to highlight the value of an EMR, okay? So think about this. You arrive on scene, a police officer is doing CPR. So CPR is cardiopulmonary resuscitation. So they're just jumping on the chest because the heart has stopped. That officer likely has EMR training, so basic CPR first aid. Their hands are keeping the blood flowing to the brain, while you, as the EMT, are able to prep your airway equipment, prep your equipment just to provide more definitive care and treatment, okay? So they're a vital resource on scene, okay? So look in your textbook, and it's going to remind you that EMRs often make the first difference, okay? They buy you time. So respect their role, coordinate with them, and then when you take over, just be professional and take charge professionally. There's a saying, never diminish the person who buys you time. They're often the reason your skills get a chance to work. Because again, if there wasn't a first responder who witnessed or showed up on scene faster than you, that patient might not be able to make it, right? So by the time you got on scene, the patient might already been too far gone, and there's nothing you can do. So having them there, having the public trained, having EMR trained individuals out there, they're going to allow you enough time to get on scene and provide a little bit more definitive care to actually make a difference. So regardless of where you are in your career, right now we're at the bottom rung. You're going to be an EMT, emergency medical technician, bottom rung. But when you start becoming a paramedic, a nurse, a doctor, don't belittle or look down upon those underneath you in terms of certification, because you were there at one point too, and you understand like they hold a vital element and role in this whole system. Okay, so just remember that as you continue on with your careers. So now let's focus on the EMT. That's going to be you. Your job is to provide basic life support. Okay, that's BLS, basic life support. And don't let the word basic kind of fool you, because you're going to have to master everything that you're able to do. Now, in terms of definitive care, can you like fix an underlying issue that's wrong with the person? Not necessarily, but can you kind of stabilize them and get them quick enough to the hospital, to paramedics, to actually fix that underlying problem. That's where you guys need to be so on top of your job to make the biggest difference. Okay, so in this role, you'll master the use of automated external defibrillators, airway adjuncts like OPAs, MPAs, oxygen administration. You'll be able to assist with medications like nitroglycerin, epinephrine, which we're going to cover in a couple chapters. But you're going to be trained to make life-saving decisions in those first critical moments of an actual emergency. Okay, so make sure I always harp on this. Make sure you're reading your textbook, because it does outline a lot of these elements and the transition from your knowledge to skill, and from skill to confidence. And that confidence is really the biggest issue that students have, because when you're rounding especially for a smaller, shorter duration program, the confidence level comes with experience. Okay, so you actually have to work in kind of in the field before you get confident. Okay. So just remember that. You're not expected to be the best EMT in the world right out from the gate, okay? But do I expect you to be knowledgeable? Yes. Do I expect you to be proficient with your skills? Yes. So your mission, again, isn't just knowing what to do, it's doing it quickly, safely, and compassionately. That's going to be another thing we're going to hit on a lot throughout this entire course. Let's go to that next page. There we go. So an advanced EMT, so they can step it up with IV access, glucose administration, airway management, so a little bit more than what a EMT can, and a few other interventions. In some rural areas, as I mentioned, an AMT may be the most advanced provider that's available. So that makes them invaluable, okay? Fun fact, in one mountain town I worked with, the AMT was the difference between life and death. Okay, so during a freak snowstorm up north, when the closest paramedic was an hour away, that advanced EMT maintained the patient with a simple IV and airway support until we could rendezvous with the actual paramedics. So again, don't ever belittle the different types of licensure individuals on that ladder, okay, because they can make the world a difference. So now we meet the paramedic, okay, the provider who can perform endotracheal intubation, cardiac monitoring, 12 leads, and administer a vast array of medications. Their training can exceed 1,300 hours, often culminating into a degree pathway, which is what we're going to be offering here at AVC, hopefully in the spring, maybe next fall. It's going to be an associate's degree, or you can just do a certificate. But let me be clear. You are not lesser than as an EMT, okay? You are still the backbone of EMS. You stabilize and transport patients, you communicate, you advocate, and you act, okay? So you're not just an EMT, okay? You're not just an EMT. Remember that. In this course, we're really going to be combining reading, lectures, hands-on practice, case-based scenarios. Each builds on the other, okay? So your reading assignments are really going to set the foundation. Come to class prepared. The textbook is hefty, okay? So it's over 1,000 pages. You're going to go over 41 different chapters. Each chapter has a lot of reading to do. So make sure you're good with your time management. Make sure you really take the time to pace out when you need to have each chapter completed, because you're not going to be successful if you don't read the textbook, okay? And that's true for any medical program you go down to. You can only learn so much from lecturing. You can only learn so much from the hands-on portion. You really need to do a deep dive into the actual textbook to gain a deeper, better understanding, and to come to class with questions where we can kind of enlighten you more. Then we have lectures and discussions. These are going to help us synthesize what we've read. Skill sheets are really going to be your map for hands-on mastery. Case studies, that's where we make it real, okay? You'll apply knowledge and scenario-based learning. So we're like treating a simulated anaphylactic reaction or responding to a trauma patient after a car crash. This is how we train the competent, confident EMTs. So you don't just memorize to pass, you have to practice to perform. So we really need to do this together. I can only take you so far. You need to do half of the work, okay? But I know together we're gonna make this a successful semester. So let's talk about your actual training. Being an EMT, like I said, isn't just a certificate, okay? It's a transformation of you, okay? A lot of you are just coming right out of high school. Maybe you're a few semesters into college. Maybe some of you are doing a whole change of career, right? This is still a transformation. You're entering into a medical professional, okay? You're going to be equipped to make rapid, critical decisions under a crazy amount of pressure. Your training is going to include anatomy and physiology, trauma care, medical emergencies. You're going to learn how to deliver a baby. You're going to assess scenes, make sure it's safe. You're going to learn how to document properly, and there's so much more. It's a very comprehensive class, and again, it's going to be very accelerated. So yeah, becoming an EMT is not just about knowledge. You have to meet certain professional standards, okay? So let's go over the licensure itself. Requirements are going to vary state by state, but generally what you're going to need to do, or what you need a high school diploma or equivalent, so a GED, proof of immunizations. Now, you don't necessarily need it to become an EMT, but if you want to work as an EMT, many of your employers will want that. Because again, you're going to be not only exposing yourself to a bunch of different diseases, but you can have a potential of being a carrier to a bunch of different patients. I know we're requiring it. The only reason why we're requiring it is because our clinical sites in which you need to do your internships requires it. You need a clean background, so pretty much no felonies. Certain misdemeanors related to driving is kind of an issue, but you're going to have a background check, and we'll check that out. There's going to be a drug screening, but again, there's going to be more of your working, so your employer is going to have certain requirements. And you do need a valid driver's license, okay? You need a driver's license because you're going to be driving an ambulance. Now, some companies will and can and might employ you as just a patient attendant, so you won't be driving, but it's highly, highly unlikely, okay? So definitely have to work on getting your driver's license if you do not have one already. You also need to complete a BLS provider course. So again, that's one of the requirements for the actual program. You need to have your CPR course, CPR certification, American Heart Association specific for us, prior to starting internships, which is going to about week 4. A state-approved EMT course, like this one, a written and practical certification exam. That's going to be the practical exam you're going to do with us here at AVC. The written practical is going to be your national registry, and you're going to take that either at a specific testing center. They might still let you take it at home, but it's going to be under a lot of eyes in terms of your webcam. And here's the big one: you need to demonstrate the mental and physical ability to do the job. Okay? Can you lift 200 pounds with a partner? Can you remain composed during a screaming trauma call? That's really part of this too, okay? Your textbook emphasizes that this is a physically demanding profession. So you're not just responding, you're really going to be moving, lifting, climbing, assessing, treating, all in high stress, unpredictable environments, okay? So I know for at least AMR, they do have a kind of a physical test prior to the interview process. So if you can't pass that physical test, then you have to kind of think about, all right, how can you better yourself, become stronger, have more endurance, and that's something you got to kind of work on. We do offer a course here at AVC specifically for first responders. So if you have questions on that, let me know. Then there's the American with Disabilities Act, which is the ADA. This law protects your right to pursue this career even if you live with a disability. Okay, employers must offer reasonable accommodations so long as you can perform the essential job functions. Okay. So in your book, it highlights Title I of the ADA, which really ensures equity in hiring and training. I had a student once with hearing loss in 1 year with a little creativity, like switching sides during auscultations, using visual cues. They completed the course and went on to work in an ambulance. So it's not about limitations, it's really about how you adapt, okay? But now obviously there are some disabilities that you can't really do anything about. Like if I had a student who was completely blind, that they wouldn't be able to achieve the essential job functions. Okay, so it's little things, big things like that would really hinder you to be successful in this career. All right, so the history. So let's journey back. EMS wasn't always what you see today. So back in World War I, volunteers drove stretchers on horse-drawn carts. In World War II, we had field medics transporting wounded soldiers to aid stations. Helicopter evacuations during Korea or the Korean War. That's where the modern idea of rapid transport really took off. So EMS really evolved out of war zones. We take a lot of what they're doing in the military and we adapt it for the public sector and bring it into all of our neighborhoods. But here's what's really wild. So in this 1960s, if you had a heart attack at home, you're more likely going to be transported in a hearse from a funeral home than an actual ambulance. So imagine that, your last ride being the same vehicle used for funerals. So that was really the reality before the real EMS evolution, or rather revolution. Really in EMS, everything changed in 1966 when a report titled Accidental Death and Disability, the Neglected Disease of Modern Society, we call it the White Paper. This document was really a wake-up call. It revealed how poorly we were treating trauma victims. So if someone was like in a car accident, for example. As a result, Congress created the EMS Act of 1973. Which led to the formation of the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the funding of formal EMS systems. So the DOT, Department of Transportation, released the first EMT curriculum in the early 1970s. And your beloved textbook, the first edition of the Orange Book, Emergency Care and Transportation of the Sick and Injured, was published in 1971. That's actually this guy right here. So this is actually a first edition of your textbook, okay? Actually got this guy off of eBay. I thought it was kind of cool. So really these weren't, and again, it's been adapting right now, where I think we're at the 12th edition of their textbook, and I'm sure the 13th is well underway. And the reason why we have these new versions is because we should be evolving. Okay, in medicine, we're always doing research. We're always kind of finding the best way of doing something. Okay, we're no longer in the past where we just do things because that's how it's always been done. Okay, so we're always evolving. So these weren't just policy changes in terms of like what Congress enacted. These were life-saving milestones that have paid dividends and saved countless lives, and will continue to do so. Next one. All right, so as we just talked about, throughout the 70s, 80s, and 90s, EMS grew in training, sophistication rather. The 70s gave us the national curriculum, the 80s added advanced EMTs, and the 90s, the EMS agenda for the future, again, it's just another report or kind of a paper, so to speak, laid out a vision for modern EMS. So consistent, which was really consistent EMS across the country. So again, whether you're in California or Virginia, it's the same. Your book does a really good job detailing this entire evolution, but let's kind of like fast forward a little bit to 2019. We now have what we call the EMS Agenda 2050, okay, so which envisions a system that's not just reactive but proactive, okay? So it's really going to be people-centered, integrated, and equitable, okay? So instead of just reacting to something, we're trying to push more of the medical prevention type of situations. So now you are going to be a part of that long lineage and legacy, okay? A profession that was really born in war, evolved through science, and driven, again, by compassion. And that's what I really want to hit home these next, these several weeks, of how you have to be an empathetic and compassionate individual to do this job, at least to do it well, okay, to do it well. Okay, yeah. So when we talk about the levels of training in EMS, okay, think of it as a spinal column, okay, of our profession. Every vertebrae builds on one below it, supporting more weight, okay, more responsibility, and more clinical decision making, okay. The National EMS Scope of Practice model defines 4 distinct providers, as we talked about: EMR, EMT, AEMT, and paramedic. So the federal model sets the baseline skills for each, okay, but the state adds the final scope, okay. The local medical director then tailors what you're allowed to do on the day-to-day, okay. So the federal gives you like a whole lot of stuff, and then the state would like, well, let's kind of just give you this, and then finally the local level, usually depending on your location, so the location you're at, so the geographical location, and the resources you have available on what each of these licensure levels can do on a day-to-day operation. For example, here in California, EMTs can assist with medications like nitroglycerin. But if the medical director doesn't approve it, you're not carrying it, okay? So, and that's kind of like what's going on in California, like, or at least not in California, but in Los Angeles County, okay? So we have our own medical director. They don't want us to do our full scope because we don't need it. We have so many resources in terms of paramedics that we don't need EMTs to be able to do all of that. So it's kind of like having a license to drive, but your boss controls which car you drive, so to speak. It's unfortunate, but it's fine. It's fine. So now in your textbook, you're going to see a Venn diagram. So this is like kind of a hierarchy laid out visually in the table. We can run you through it real quick. EMRs, again, provide, again, because this is kind of broken down into the medical director, the day-to-day, the state, and the federal. So again, if we talk about EMRs, EMTs, paramedic, EMRs can perform basic life support, CPR, bleeding control, basic. EMTs build on that by managing more complex situations, splinting oxygen, spinal immobilization, medications. AEMTs, again, start IVs. They can use supraglottic airways, like laryngeal mask airways, King airways, etc., and do a little bit more ALS stuff. Paramedics, they get full ALS privileges, intubation, manual defibrillation, 12-lead, IO, sedation, RSI, and tons of different medications. But remember, no provider can perform beyond their approved scope. Okay, so no matter their training, it's a layered model. So national standards, state law, medical director, and then you. Okay, so at the end of the day, you can only do what they say you can do. And that's kind of what this whole Venn diagram is kind of telling you. Public BLS and immediate aid. So this is really about the bystanders, so the members of the public who have really minimal medical, no medical certification, but some medical training. So never underestimate their value, okay? So think about this. A sudden cardiac arrest, every minute without CPR is going to reduce survival by about 7 to 10%, okay? So at that 10-minute mark, 100% patient's gone, can never come back, okay? Your book emphasizes how a layperson, again, a member of the public, CPR and AED use can change outcomes, okay? So they can actually save lives. AEDs nowadays are everywhere, wherever there's a large gathering of people or where the activity being done in that spot is very strenuous. So like malls, airports, schools, grocery stores, gyms. And some can be used on children as well. They're intuitive, so you really don't need much medical training to utilize them. I saw a security guard defibrillate a shopper before we even arrived once. So again, just an AED plopped on, it'll shock them, and it's really dummy proof, so to speak. It cannot be used maliciously, so you can't just put it on somebody and shock them accidentally. But really, that early defibrillation shock is going to buy you time as an EMT to actually save that person. That CPR is going to buy you time to actually get on scene, figure out what's going on, and figure out how to best treat that person. So public BLS is the first domino in the chain of survival, and never discount its power. So we're going to talk a little bit later in this chapter about education and public education, how important it is to really advocate for members of the public to become CPR certified. Okay, so it's a big thing we're going to talk about. Emergency medical responders, again, our EMRs, are the eyes, the ears, the hands on scene before you arrive, okay? So EMRs, again, may include police officers, firefighters in certain situations, lifeguards, ski patrol. Their training focuses really on securing the scene, make sure it's safe, cardiopulmonary resuscitation, bleeding control, opening up an airway, and then using an AED. So very basic things. They stabilize the scene until the higher levels of care, like the EMT paramedic, arrive. Okay. So here's a common sense. You roll up to a car crash. Firefighter is holding C-spine, and a police officer has applied a tourniquet. These actions aren't just helpful, they can be really life-saving, okay? Again, a person can have a significant spinal or head injury, so you have one of those EMRs holding C-spine precautions, make sure the patient doesn't move. A tourniquet implies that there was a significant bleed, where if that wasn't applied, patient could have bled out before you even arrived. So don't forget, EMRs are also trained to assist you. Treat them as partners. You can teach them on scene, especially like for the heavy lifting aspects, if you need to hold, or to bleeding control aspects. They're there to help, and you can teach them right then and there, okay? So take advantage when it's possible. So now let's talk about, again, the EMT, the emergency medical technician. This is going to describe the EMT as the primary link between the emergency scene and, again, the healthcare system in the hospital. Your job is to stabilize, assess, communicate, document, treat, package up the patient. You'll train for approximately 150 to 200 hours, depending on your program. We do more than that because, again, I want to make sure you're extra prepared and have a better chance of success on the National Registry exam. You were actually closer to the 250 to 300 hours. That includes, all the curricula, but also your internship hours, your testing, everything. So you're going to learn, how to control bleeding, manage airways, put in an airway adjunct, deliver oxygen through various means. One of the most important aspects, perform patient assessments, package up the patient, transport them to the hospital, assist with medications like albuterol, epinephrine, aspirin. But here's what your textbook can't teach you: the feel of a trauma scene, okay? The moment you meet a patient's eyes and know they're trusting you with everything, okay? So your job is not just technical and knowing how to do something, it's really emotional, it's personal, and that's why it's really important that we build up your competence and your confidence, okay? So that's our goal here. But again, it's your job to do the extra work on the outside, reading your textbook, watching the lectures, and taking advantage of the lab time you have to actually hone your skills, okay? Because if you are confident with your knowledge and skills, you're going to be confident and competent when you get out there and doing this for real life. Your advanced EMTs can expand on the EMT skill set with limited ALS interventions. They start IV, administer fluids. They can use some advanced airways. Again, in LA County, we don't use advanced EMTs, but Kern County does. So, our neighbors to the north. They can really administer life-saving medications, naloxone, dextrose, epi. Again, some rural areas, they really rely on our AEMTs, because think about like a 2-hour drive from the nearest paramedic, or a 2-hour drive to the closest hospital. That's where having an EMT that can do a little bit extra to kind of slow down that dying process, so to speak, it will pay dividends in the end. So their ability to stabilize, these patients, the hypoglycemic patients, the patients with no airways, etc., can be the difference between life and death, okay? But again, AEMTs are not just the in-betweeners, they're the lifeline. So they're not just like, they haven't become paramedics yet, or they failed out of paramedic school and they can only be they're not like that, okay? So they're really an important link in this whole EMS system, okay? They're the lifelines in the system that can always deploy full ALS crews, okay? Or like for the areas that can't always deploy ALS crews. Paramedics, again, represent the pinnacle of pre-hospital care, okay? They receive about 1,000 to 2,000 hours of training. Most of the time, it's about a year, a total year. If we look at it like a community college kind of a structure, you'll have like a winter session, a spring, a summer, and a fall. So those four, so one full calendar year. That's usually how long a certification course is. Half of it is all just didactic, where you're just in the classroom learning. The other half, you're doing internships at different clinical sites, so different hospitals. And then you're also going to be in the field with either an ambulance company or fire department. Often tied to, usually it's tied to an associate's degree, depending on where you're at. Sometimes a bachelor's degree, but here we're doing an associate's plus there's a route just for your certificate, so you don't have to do all your general education type things. But I always recommend getting your education. I always do it. They really perform full advanced life support, so intubation, so the endotracheal tube down the patient's throat to have an open airway. They can utilize a cardiac monitor to do defib, pacing, do ECG rhythm checks, synchronized cardioversions. They can do 12 leads, so they put the little electrodes on the chest and see really what's going on in that heart. A lot of different medications they can administer. They can sedate, so there's a whole lot in their kind of repertoire. But the truth is what I want you to hear. Being an EMT is, again, not a lesser role. You're not just an EMT, okay? Paramedics can't do their job without a solid EMT. You are the hands, their eyes, really their foundation on a chaotic scene. They don't need a trainee, they really need a partner, okay? You're not training to assist, you're training to own your own specific role, okay? When you do, your paramedic will trust you, and the patients will survive because of you, okay? So remember that. All right, so big picture times, the components of EMS system, okay? EMS is more than just, going out there and seeing the flashing lights and the trauma calls. It's really a comprehensive system made of 14 interrelated components, okay? These core concepts in the EMS Agenda 2015 are going to, and again, this is going to be what all these components are found under. It's, again, comprehensive, quality, and convenient care. So not just fast, not just right, but it's quality. Okay, evidence-based clinical care. So decisions driven by data, not just guesswork. Preventative care. EMS is involved in keeping people out of ambulance too, because it really bogs down the system when we get so many different calls all over the city, when we should really be focusing, at least have one component of EMS focused on prevention, okay? Think of EMS like a symphony, right? It's like a band. Each component is an instrument, dispatch, EMTs, medical directors, your hospital liaison, educators, and we need to play in sync, okay? Because when we do, we're able to actually save lives, okay? And that's, again, at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to do in the pre-hospital setting. In medical, in general, we're trying to save lives. So let's talk about how EMS is actually activated, okay? So it all starts with a call. In most cases, 911. But it could also be a mobile app or even a text message in some systems, okay? The concept of public safety access point is the communication center where trained emergency medical dispatchers answer, triage, they dispatch resources. These professionals are really your first line of intelligence, okay? They often coach callers, so they'll teach the person who called 911 how to do CPR, how to open up airways, how to do some basic first aid before you even arrive, okay? Have you ever heard of a 12-year-old calmly doing compressions on their other parent when you walk through the door? That's the power of these dispatchers, okay? They can actually teach individuals how to actually help save a life, right? And that's why public access and smart trained dispatchers matter as well. Some of you might actually go that route after getting your EMT license. You might go become a dispatcher. You might become a tech at the hospital. There's a lot of different routes, a tree branch, so to speak, in which you can go. Human resource. So this component is really, again, all about you and the people who work beside you. Again, your textbook goes in deep detail on this, but it really focuses on how EMS providers are selected, how they're trained, and how they are retained, okay? The EMS Agenda of 2050 emphasizes building a workplace where people actually want to stay, not just start. So that means you're going to find that when you start working, there's a lot of turnover. That means a lot of people are getting hired, a lot of people quit, and so there's continuously just flooding in with new EMTs and new professionals, and that's because of the job itself and the workplace environment. So so what the EMS Agenda of 2050 is trying to do is kind of change that narrative, right? So that includes what? Better wages is always like a good start, getting actually paid for the work you're doing, opportunities for advancement. Again, you don't always want to just remain as an EMT or a dispatcher. You might want to move up the corporate ladder, so to speak, become a training officer, become some type of management, or maybe go from EMT to paramedic, and that employer could help you achieve that goal. Having a culture of wellness, again, taking in your own psychological and mental health into account. So again, I'll be honest, burnout, which we're going to talk about, I think in chapter 2, is a huge problem in this field. Okay, but so is passion, okay? And I've seen EMTs stay in this career for 20 plus years because they felt valued and fulfilled, okay? So you can be a career-long EMT, a lifelong EMT, and love your job because of the place you work, okay? Other times you're gonna just kind of be worn down each and every single day and not feel supported by your employer, and then that's what burnout happens, and you just want to quit your job entirely and quit. Honestly, you're gonna quit the medical field entirely. So human resources is not just about paperwork, it's about preserving, our humanity as caregivers. And again, when we get to chapter 2, we're really going to hone in on how we can actually combat this burnout and have a better work-life balance and a better culture inside whatever place you're employed. So every EMS the medical director. So every EMS system, again, operates under the license of a medical director, okay? This is a physician who defines what care EMTs and paramedics can legally and ethically provide. Again, your textbook outlines this even more clearly, but the medical director writes your protocols, okay? Think of it as like your clinical playbook, okay? Inside those protocols are standing orders, okay, which let you act immediately in certain situations without calling in. So you don't have to necessarily get on the cell phone, get on the radio, and call for direction. These standing orders are there for you just to act, okay? For example, giving an EpiPen to someone with anaphylaxis. That's what we call a standing order. You don't need permission because the protocol already grants it, okay? Think of your medical director as the head coach, calling plays, but trusting you to run them on the field. There's two forms of medical control. We have offline, which we consider indirect. Okay, that's going to be your training, your protocol, standing orders. Then we have online, which is going to be direct. So this is when you actually call the base station physician mid-call. So like when you're actually on a call treating a patient, you have a question or something, you can call them up and they'll give you some guidance on what to do, or you explain what the situation is and what you want to do, and you're going to get their feedback. So there's again, there's a great explanation inside of this relationship inside your textbook, but imagine you're treating a hypoglycemic patient. So this is going to be a patient with low blood sugar, okay? And they refuse transport, okay? So it's borderline, okay? You call for medical online control. The physician gives you guidance, maybe modifies the plan. That's real-time clinical backup, okay? And here's a pro tip. And then again, you could always have that medical director in some cases they'll actually talk to the patient, and when the patient hears it from like a doctor, they always kind of take it a bit more serious, and that'll actually help you out as well. But here, pro tip, okay, whenever you're doing direct or online medical control, always repeat back what medical control says to confirm. Just for you to confirm the order. So you're going to repeat it back to them. It's going to build trust for one. It's going to prevent errors, which is huge, and it really shows that you're locked in. Okay, so always do that when you're making base contact. Legislation and regulation. So EMS isn't a free-for-all, okay? Our training, our scope, and performance are really regulated by state law. Every EMS system operates under state legislation, so what you can do, state EMS offices who enforces it, and the local agencies who administers the daily operations. Okay, when you join an agency, so like AMR, for example, LA County Fire, you're expected to follow its standing operating procedures, so the SOPs. These include everything from patient care, documentation, to just pure radio protocol. It's a good reminder here that you represent not just yourself, but your department and your license, okay? Be the EMT you'd want to show up at your grandma's house, okay, or your parents' house. So that's the kind of EMT you need to be. Integration, so integration of health services. So it's all about the continuity of care, okay? So making sure that as soon as you get that patient is going to be transferred to another medical provider, and they're going to continue on getting high quality care. So you are the first clinician of the chain, okay? But you're not going to be the last, obviously. So EMS care must be seamlessly connected to the emergency department. That means clear, concise patient handoffs, pre-notification of specialty cases. So if you have a person with a massive heart attack, which we would call like a STEMI, or having someone has a stroke, you want to make sure that the hospital understands who's coming in and what's the situation, okay? Full documentation. Documentation is going to be a huge one. We're going to talk about that in chapter 3, okay? Or it might be chapter 4. One of these chapters on communication documentation. I know one of my former students caught an irregular rhythm on a 12 lead and gave a perfect radio report. The cath lab was waiting. The patient got a stent in record time, and that's what integration really looks like, is making sure you guys are all aligned with the same similar goals, and making sure that everyone understands what's happening. Okay, that's the important aspect here. The patient care is not going to pause during the handoff. It's going to be accelerated. So that's why you have to know your stuff. You have to have good communication skills, and you have to, again, it's going to come down to confidence. Okay, you have to have that confidence. So future, okay? Future's now. Mobile integrated health, okay? These are MIH and community paramedicine, okay? This is from another document called EMS 2.0. It really describes how EMS is evolving from emergency only to preventative longitudinal care. Okay. In the MIH models, EMTs and paramedics, they're going to do home visits. They're going to follow up on chronic patients. They connect people with services to keep them out of the ER. They imagine responding to the same COPD patient like every single week. Under the MIH, you could actually go out before the flare-up, help manage meds, avoid the ambulance ride altogether. Okay, so that's kind of where this is going. Okay, that's where the future kind of lies. It's all about preventative measures. So it's not about being less. Now you might think it's less exciting, but it's going to be more effective. Okay, again, our whole goal is to save lives, and it's where we prove that EMS belongs in the broader healthcare system, rather. Good, yeah. So community paramedicine, okay, is one of the most exciting evolutions in EMS today. Again, this is not just paramedics, but also nurses are becoming more involved in this. But in this model, experienced paramedics get advanced training to serve not just during emergencies, but again, also in the roles that prevent them, okay? These professionals, again, visit patient homes, monitor chronic conditions, like, again, diabetes, COPD, and assist with wound care or medication compliance. So imagine, like, again, being the paramedic who prevents a stroke by helping a patient regulate their blood pressure through weekly follow-ups. So this is not about just taking away the emergency role. It's really about expanding it, right? It means your skill set can be used for proactive, preventative medicine. And the whole goal is to reduce the strain, besides saving lives, is to reduce the strain that's on emergency departments, and really improving overall patient outcomes. Information system. So documentation, again, it is paperwork, but it's not just about paperwork, okay? It's patient care that lives on after your shift ends, okay? So our current modern EMS relies heavily on electronic systems, okay, to document everything you do. These records are used to, again, identify, and this is going to be what we call our electronic patient care reports. Or EPCR. We've gone away from just handwriting everything, and everything's now more digital, which is amazing, because it's not just about, hey, this is what this patient care report, this is everything, that all the vital signs, the narrative, and all that fun stuff, and we just give it to the nurse and that's it. No, now with the data collection, we can identify trends of different illnesses or injuries in a certain population. We can use it to improve training, because we can see, like, hey, all these chest pain patients, had poor outcomes. Let's look at the pre-hospital care, what was being done, what was not being done, and how can we actually train our EMTs or paramedics to better provide care. Helps get to secure funding, right? So we have all this data that says, just, hey, we need more money to staff more ambulances or to fund special projects, and really and to analyze outcomes, right? So is there something that we're doing in the field that's leading to better outcomes for our patients? So we can kind of adopt that more nationally, right? Want to know, do you want to know how long your department takes to get on scene for trauma calls, right? Want to prove that stroke alerts get patients into CT scans faster. We can know whether your protocols are actually saving lives. Again, the data you enter, all right, during every single call can help answer those answers, or provide answers rather. So information systems turns your observation into action, right? When you document well, you're not just writing a report, you're really contributing to the evolution of EMS care, and you're contributing to your overall wellness of your community. Evaluation. So evaluation in EMS is going to happen at every single level, okay? So individual, agency, and the system itself. So it's not really about punishing, okay? It's about protecting patients and pushing ourselves to be better. At the top, you have the state, okay? The state ensures that providers are licensed, meet certain educational standards, okay? The medical director makes sure care is appropriate and within the scope. EMS supervisors are going to review your documentation and performance. And then there's lastly your self-evaluation. Okay, this is where you really should be asking yourself, was I thorough on that call? Did I listen? Was there a safer way to do something? That's where your real growth will happen. Professional reflection isn't optional in this field. It's what separates a provider from really a technician, okay? So that's where you have to strive to be better, okay? And to take pride in your profession, in your job, and treat every day as such. CQI, continuous quality improvement. So this is the engine, rather, behind better care. Okay, it's not a report card. It's really a culture, right? It's a good EMS system takes how are we doing, right? A great one asks how can we do better. We do this through a simple but powerful cycle: plan, do, study, act. Okay. First, we analyze data or trends. So maybe there's cardiac arrest. Maybe all of our cardiac arrests are surviving less often. Then we plan a change. Okay, so maybe it's BVM. Maybe we're not getting enough oxygen to that heart. So maybe our providers or our clinicians are not doing a bag valve mask correctly or proficiently. So we do some BVM training. We implement it. We study the outcomes, and if it works, we make it permanent. Okay, so this system isn't about catching mistakes, it's about designing safety into everything we do. So really the continuous quality improvement transforms a single good provider into a high-performing team, and that's what we need to do. We need to be a team. Patient safety. So unfortunately every EMS call contains risk, okay? To the patient, to the provider, and really to the public also. Patient safety means creating systems that prevent harm at every single stage. So driving, lifting, treating, transferring. Errors can stem from three of these key areas. Okay, so we have knowledge, rules, and skills. Okay, maybe you didn't know the drug protocol had changed. Maybe you skipped a step. or maybe you were distracted. We've all had close calls in the field, but the goal isn't to be perfect, it's to be mindfulness, okay? Checklist, communication, situational awareness. Not just buzzwords, they're the habits that make sure your patient goes home instead of to the morgue. System finance. So unfortunately, EMS doesn't run on adrenaline alone. It runs on money. It runs on funding. Okay, whether it's a fire-based company, a private ambulance, hospital-based, or just some third service model, someone has to pay for the vehicles, the equipment, training, the staff. Your documentation helps secure that funding. Okay, so accurate patient care reports really help agency get reimbursed from Medicare, Medicaid, private insurers. If it's not documented, it didn't happen. Okay, I'm going to hit that home a lot when we get to the communication and documentation chapter. And unfortunately, if it didn't happen, it doesn't get paid for either. So really, beyond just billing grants and community programs, they rely on the data to show the impact. Okay, so in a very real way, your pen or your keyboard rather is a financial tool that helps keep ambulances on the road. Here's a glimpse into the future again, the emergency triage, treat, and transport ET3 model. Okay, so this was a pilot program. I'm not sure, I haven't seen the results yet. I'm sure it's still ongoing. But this pilot program flips the old EMS payment model really on its head. Okay, so historically, we only paid to transport, even if the patient didn't need the ER. Under the ET3 model or pilot program, we can now be reimbursed for treating on scene, transporting to alternate destinations like urgent care, or even setting up telehealth consults. Okay, this model rewards good clinical judgment because, again, not just transport mileage. Okay, so right now, how it is, you call 911, you go to the closest, most appropriate receiving facility, which is an emergency department. Okay, this is what we're trying to change. Okay, and it really reinforces the idea that EMS is healthcare, not just a taxi service with lights, unfortunately. And that's unfortunately how a lot of the public will treat you. So this is a good pilot program to see, hey, is this something we can do? Education. So EMS education doesn't end when you pass this class. It just begins, okay? Instructors, we must meet strict standards, and accredited programs must meet national benchmarks, okay? But the real journey starts when you get that patch, okay? When you get that EMT patch, because skills fade, guidelines change, new research is continuously redefining best practices constantly, okay? Continue education, conferences, simulation labs, peer reviews. They're not just like little boxes that you need to get checked. They're the tools that are going to keep your knowledge sharp, your skills precise, and your patients safe, right? EMS is a profession that demands growth because really lives are going to depend on it, okay? Lives will depend on it. So, this is down. Prevention and public education. So EMS, again, just isn't about just response, right? We want to focus a lot on prevention. We're not just trying to save lives during emergencies, we're trying to stop those emergencies from happening in the first place. Think about this. We can educate parents on proper car seat installation. We can teach compression-only CPR in schools. We're creating a safer, more prepared community. Public health is about identifying patterns, okay? Noticing that most falls in a certain neighborhood happen at dusk, or at the kids keep arriving to the ED without bike helmets. You're not just a responder, you're really a teacher, right? A watchdog, an agent of change, right? So again, prevention is going to be such a huge underlying factor in your careers as EMTs, as paramedics moving forward. There are two main types of prevention you'll influence, primary prevention and secondary. So primary prevention, stopping the event before it happens, okay? This might look like installing smoke detectors, running drowning prevention classes, but our secondary prevention, minimizing harm once the event has occurred, okay? That's why we promote seatbelt use, helmets, falls, or fall-proofing a home. something about EMS data, really really impactful data. EMS data helps public health officials redesign intersections after a pattern of collisions. You thought your job ended when you cleared the call, but your documentation, again, helps save dozens of, if not more, lives. So always take pride in your work, be thorough with your work, because you don't know down the road the impact you're actually having. EMS research. Okay, I love research. If it was up to me, we would have a research project in this class, which it might be. Maybe not in this class. Maybe. I'll think about it. But EMS research. So every skill you're taught as an EMT, as a paramedic, as a nurse, from airway management to how we do CPR, it really exists because someone studied it, they questioned it, they proved it worked. Okay, this is the essence of evidence-based medicine, evidence-based practices. Okay, we don't guess. Okay, we gather data, we test it, and we learn. Research is always ongoing. Maybe your agency joins a study to see if nasal oxygen improves outcomes in stroke patients. You might not be the one crunching all the numbers, but you'll gather the data that really fuels the change. Okay. Without research, we'd still be doing back blows for choking for adults and using rigid longboards on every trauma call. With research, we evolve and our patients survive and have better overall outcomes. Right? The roles and responsibility of the EMT. This can also be the EMT student, right? Your role as an EMT is really vast. It's dynamic. First and foremost, keep your gear and your vehicle ready. Always make sure that your bag is stocked. It's exactly where you need it to be placed. Same thing with your actual ambulance. Make sure it's fully stocked. Make sure you have fuel. Make sure all your fluids are good. Make sure you're ready to actually run a call. Because emergencies don't wait for you to catch up, okay? Scene safety, another cornerstone. You can't help others if you become the next patient. You'll assess every scene for hazards, traffic, violence, fire, chemicals, before you actually start committing to care. And we're going to cover that in the first week of lab. Then comes leadership. Okay, even as a new EMT, you are a leader. You may need to be direct with bystanders. Okay, you might need to organize help or make split-second decisions when your partner is tied up. So it's not just about skill; it's about composure under pressure. Okay, and we're going to try to instill these characteristics into you. But it's going to take time. It's going to take a lot of practice, and it's going to take effort on both of our parts. You also need to know when and how to call for backup, right? That could be more ambulances, could be fire, police, maybe you need a helicopter. Knowing when to escalate is a key part of good scene management, okay? And that's taking everything into account. And again, we're gonna work on that in labs. Patient access, okay? Sometimes you'll walk right in, other times you'll take creative problem solving to reach your patient. Inside a vehicle, under debris, behind a locked door. Very, very common to be behind a locked door. So how do you gain access? Then it's time for a full patient assessment. Your ability to gather information quickly, interpret it accurately, keywords accurately, and make solid decisions that will literally save lives, okay? You are the first medical detective on the scene. I hit on medical assessment, trauma assessment a lot because that is the foundation of which you're going to do all of your skills. So if you're not able to do a solid patient assessment, you don't know exactly how to treat or the best way to treat the patient. So we're going to start that week 1 as well. Again, you are not just there to provide care. Okay, we provide emotional support as well. Again. Picture this, a mom cradling a child after a seizure. She's terrified. Sometimes the most healing thing you can do is offer steady hands, calm words, okay? You're gonna maintain the continuity of care, ensuring the patient's story and treatment flows smoothly from dispatch to EMS to a hospital. You're also going to resolve incidents, whether that means transferring to another provider, or helping the family member understand what is happening, okay? And finally, upholding the legal and ethical standards of care, okay? Knowing your scope, okay? Knowing your limits. And always advocate for your patient, even when it's difficult, okay? That's the number one thing as an EMT. You need to advocate for your patient. That means you want to do what's in the best interest of your patient. Not the best interest of you, not the best interest of the hospital, the firefighters, the paramedic. What's in the best interest of that patient? And that's going to make a lot of sense going forward. Last set of responsibilities for you. Now, again, this is not a comprehensive list, but it often gets overlooked. But again, they matter just as much. Administrative support, okay? That's your documentation. Professional development, that's going to be your continuing education, attending workshops, staying current. As an EMT, you are required to do continuing education to maintain your certification, and we'll talk about that later on. Having community relations, okay? Volunteering for public events, educating schools about EMS. You're going to do a lot of that in this class. Maybe not during the summer session, but definitely during the fall and the spring. We work extensively with our AVC outreach program. We'll typically have elementary schools, middle schools come into our lab. We'll tell them all about EMS. We'll teach them a little something. A lot of times we'll go to different high schools and we'll bring our ambulance and we'll show up and again just talk about the profession itself. Okay, that is what being an EMT is all about. How do you give back to the actual profession? Okay, so once you actually become an EMT, what do you do now? A lot of my EMT students, former EMT students, they come back and be kind of like an unofficial volunteer or TA. They're trying to help you guys pass the course because they've been through it. They've become EMTs, so they've seen the process, so they can kind of give you tips and tricks on how to best succeed. But when you're out there, be a mentor, right? Teaching, representing EMS with integrity. Integrity is going to be a huge thing, and we're going to talk about it. Because again, you're not just punching a clock, okay? You shouldn't be an EMT just for the paycheck, okay? You're stepping into what we call a vocation, a calling, one that demands technical excellence, emotional intelligence, and relentless professionalism, okay? The public, right? They see the lights. They see the lights and sirens. They hear the sirens. The hospital sees the handoff, but you will know the full weight and privilege of this role, okay? So take that how you'd like. And again, this is supposed to be your calling. Even if like you want to be a firefighter, this is where it starts, okay? Professionalism. Okay, professional attributes, professional in EMS, professionalism in EMS starts with what's on the inside, okay? But again, it's reflected on the outside. So let's begin with integrity, okay? That means doing the right thing when no one is watching, okay? It's owning up to your own mistakes, documenting honestly. Not what you wish happened, not what you remembered, oh, you should have done, but what actually did happen, okay? Empathy. Empathy is your ability to feel what someone else is feeling and to understand it, right? You're going to treat people on the worst days of their lives, okay? Some are going to be scared, okay? Some will be angry, right? Some won't speak your language, but they all will remember how you made them feel, okay? Self-motivation, huge self-motivation, even in this class, okay? Self-motivation is going to be key. That's what's going to keep you training, learning, and pushing, okay? Even when you're tired, even when the call is slow, when the shift is slow, the shift is long, it's what separates the good EMTs, the good providers, from the great providers. Oh yeah, so let's talk about how you show up, okay? Not just in skill, but in presence, okay? Your appearance and hygiene, okay? It's not superficial. They actually build trust. Clean uniform, trim nails, fresh breath even. They send a message that I'm ready and you can count on me, okay? Self-confidence doesn't mean knowing everything, okay? It means knowing what you do and what you don't, okay? It's the humility to ask for help, the courage to act decisively when needed. Time management, crucial. Calls rarely go by the book, so you need to prioritize and adapt, okay? Know how long a scene should take and when it's time to move, okay? When is it time to load the patient up and just start heading to the hospital, when to rendezvous with the paramedics. Communication, okay? This is your tool for clarity, for calmness with patients, partners, hospital staff. You need to be clear, be kind, be confident, okay? We made it to the end of our first presentation, so let's finish with the traits that really shape your legacy as a provider, okay? Teamwork and diplomacy, okay? Means knowing when to lead, when to support, okay? When to speak up and how to listen, okay? You'll work with all types, seasoned medics, rookie firefighters, hospital nurses, law enforcement. No matter what, you need to be respectful, be reliable, be professional. Okay? Respect means seeing the humanity in every single person. Okay? Even the ones screaming at you, even the ones you may not agree with, you treat every single patient like they're your own family. Okay? Patient advocacy means being their voice when they can't speak. Okay? It's noticing the subtle symptoms. It's asking the hard questions. It's making sure they're treated with dignity every single time. And finally, careful delivery of care. Okay? Pay attention to the little things. Tape an IV line securely, adjust the cot, clean your equipment, because small things are big things, okay, when someone's scared and hurting. All right, I think that does it for our first lesson. If you're following along in the actual PowerPoint, you're going to have 10 sample questions. You can kind of just test your knowledge over the past hour. Otherwise, I will see you next time.